Hello. Welcome to Be Well. I'm truly honored to have you with us today for our conversation. The topic is spiritual guidance from the universe, and I am grateful to have a guest, Ellae Elinwood. Ellae is someone who I've had the opportunity to know for many years, really treasure and honor her guidance and her spiritual wisdom. Ellae is a master spiritual teacher, a teacher of optimal health, and also an author. I would just say that the discussion today comes at a time when things have been very interesting in the world. And so we find ourselves in this space of really, I believe, yearning for some guidance, spiritual guidance and support to understand how best to meet this extraordinary time. I will offer a quote by Rumi to start us off and just to kind of settle into our conversation. Rumi shared, "Our purpose on earth is to manifest the very nature of our spirit, which is touched by the Spirit of God." So with that context, Ellae, I'd like to welcome you. It's really a pleasure to be in your presence and to share this space. So if you will, I know when you and I spoke about our conversation today, there was a desire to offer what may be useful to all of us at this particular time. So if you will give us a context of the time we're in, and let's have our conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, let me say that most of this is not things that have come from me. I've had three extraordinary teachers, Greg Tiffin, Nancy Ann Tappy, and then my current teacher, Paul Goodberg. And then I have a guide that I've worked with to give information in my psychic readings for decades. So the information is like a compilation of what I've learned from them. So we can start by saying that this is a story. Everything's a story, and life is really finding a story that you are able to open up to and resonate with that brings meaning to you. And so approach this from the point of view of a story that describes a meaning of life that may just resonate with parts of you that are wanting to have a different way of seeing things. So first and foremost, I've been taught that we have been brought forth from the oneness. Each and every one of us has been brought forth from the oneness. And here we call that our soul. We then travel, we are given a micro millisecond of time after we've brought forth from the oneness to travel this universe that we have chosen. Out of all the others, we've chosen this universe, and this universe has accepted us. This universe is filled with forms of life. It's actually the imperative. Life is everywhere, but most of it is not life as we know it. And what life congregates in the universe around are forms of knowledge. So our universe is filled with different forms of knowledge. And we jettison in our time and space, doing different forms of knowledge, gaining, producing a uniqueness out of those. And our connection is constantly to the oneness. That is our only permanent connection. Everything else is temporary. So we have the soul connection to the oneness, and then we have what Greg and what I like to call the universal personality. And what the universal personality implies, I believe correctly, is that you are unique in who you are, and you are also connected to the oneness. So we are now in a form of learning that some of us call the Earth School, and we are learning how to become changed in this form of learning through refining our capacity to adapt to circumstances that are right in front of us.
So Ellae, if I could, so when you speak of the Earth School, is the Earth School this universe, this form of knowledge that we're interfacing with? When you say Earth School, here, this is the universe that we are in this moment in time. Is that how I would understand Earth School?
Earth School is what we have here on this planet.
Great.
Is what Earth has been. Earth was constructed by the universe as a female school to teach how to become changed. And so when we're here in this school with Earth, within the environment, with all that we know to be true about Earth, adjusting to the situations that have been created for us and around us and by us, we are in the form of learning called becoming changed.
So I appreciate the context that you're given, because as you talk about the Earth School that we're in currently, there has been a lot of, some may say, upheaval, transformation, shifting dynamics. For a lot of people, the world has just been turned upside down, and is this flow of not having settled. So how do we adjust to that change? How do we take that on in our Earth School learning?
I've been taught that this is a 10-dimension school, and with each dimension, we refine our relationship to how to become changed. And the first dimension was stromatolites, oxygen puffing organisms. That was the first time and the only time so far that life has been at one. The second dimension was the dimension of variety, and we brought conflict in. It was supposed to be like nature. You only kill something when you're hungry. But we have trouble with uniqueness as a species, so we brought in conflict. Then the third dimension started, and consciousness said, okay, we need to learn how to get along with each other. So the third dimension was, I give to you to find a common ground so that we can connect back and forth like a figure eight. In 2012, when a lot of the seers were saying, life does not go beyond 2012, it's because we started a new dimension. We're now in the fourth dimension. And I was working in San Diego at the time, and the energy that came in was like the most beautiful force field of energy that came in. This started the fourth dimension. So we're adjusting to a different way of being human.
So if I could, I'm going to go back one dimension and just really try to understand, do we resolve that period of time? First off, where there is this, we have uniqueness, there's conflict, we didn't really accept uniqueness. And then do we resolve some of those dynamics as we move from one dimension to another? Is that what allows us to move into the dimension we're in now?
Right. And we do resolve these. Our species moves slowly. We still have people who are dominant in the second dimension. We have people who are still struggling to leave the third. And we have people who are now coming into the fourth. And people who are born now are already in the fourth dimension. They're much more solid in who they are as people. So the transition is happening. The reason that it's a struggle for you and I and those of us that are listening to this is because we don't understand what's expected of us. How we need to change our behavior to align with this big change, so that we've refined our relationship to how to adapt to Earth. And that's, I think a large part of what you and I are talking about, how to figure out how to fit into this as individuals.
So with the pandemic, with the social unrest that we've experienced, with just incredible turmoil, the great incidents of mental health challenges. This is all of our kind of climate change, our collective struggle with adapting to the Earth the universe at this particular time.
Well, the function of the fourth dimension is for people to exhibit complete autonomy. And rather than doing something to influence the outer world to make it the way we want it to be, we respond to the experience in front of us as the personal quality that we choose to give to the situation. So we're not responding to the situation trying to get anything from it. We're choosing the quality person that we want to give to that situation. And then we are learning from it and refining our personal quality. And in doing that, we're starting to learn how to have reciprocal relationships where it's even back and forth, maybe not the same, but reciprocal back and forth. Then there is an understanding that I'm sure those of you that are listening to this have felt, which is you just understand something. You don't have to fly in a circle to figure out, gather information for understanding. You just understand it. And you'll notice that that understanding wipes out all need to control the situation to understand it. And that is the fourth dimension. That's why the fourth dimension is filled with peace. And the fourth dimension exists. We are just now as a species all trying to get there. And so the ones who are slower at getting there, understanding, who are afraid of losing control of the outer world, are slowing the process, which makes those of us that are interested in this process of our species, the evolution, what we do personally even more important.
Wow, sounds like a beautiful place for us all to be able to get there. But as I'm understanding from what you're saying, if the challenge or the opportunity is really to achieve autonomy, each of us needs to do our personal work. And in doing that, then that gets contributed to the whole just by our offering of ourselves. I wonder if we could ground that in like an example. I know concrete examples help me in the world.
So an example would be, so yesterday I got rear-ended really seriously by somebody. And the temptation, of course, was to react, which I did in the car by myself. And then I got out and I remembered it's the fourth dimension. I am not going to respond to this in a way that I'm going to try to influence the other person, make her feel bad, be upset. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to respond to this situation in a way that I can feel that I have done it in a way that expresses the quality person that I want to give into this situation. Now, it's been a big challenge because, you know, you get in a big automobile accident, you get hurt, all kinds of things happen. She's not being very involved. So I'm constantly having to go back and say, how do I want to respond to this? Because the systems, friends, all pull me into, oh my gosh, you must be so upset. So so this is my example that's to the fore right now. How do I choose to be in this? Really without being the victim. That's an easy way of looking at it, but also offering to the situation the quality person that I want to give to this. How do I do that? And that requires, as you pointed out, Jonathon, you have to go into the self. You have to weed out the self. I have to go in and keep pulling up new ways of handling this situation. So it's not unique for me. Everybody's doing this.
I love the example because it's a tangible example. It's probably it's one that we could all relate to. I think about, so one thing I felt when you were sharing that is, I think of any time that I feel myself wanting to react, and there's that space and time between having that experience and acting upon it. And in that moment, in that space, there's an opportunity for me to choose, not just react impulsively, but to actually choose how I want to show up in that moment. I could just be unconscious and just kind of do what I do, or I could choose to, as you said, offer the quality that I'd like to bring forward, whether that's compassion for the other, whether that is setting a limit or a boundary, but it's really choosing the particular quality that I want to bring forward that may be distinct from what I might have done in my earlier development.
That's it, Jonathon. That's it. And then the reward is to recognize that what you're doing is you're offering a reciprocal relationship to another person. Offering something where you bring yourself in clear and clean, they bring themselves in clear and clean, where you touch, it's beautiful, and where you don't touch, that may be just the way it is. And from that, comes this, because you've now elevated yourself into the fourth dimension, which now exists. From that comes an understanding where you go, oh, I get it. Okay. And the amazing part about that understanding is at that point, you give up any control. So when I've been, struggling with this accident all day, insurance and everything, and asked her to do something for me that would help, and she hasn't done it. And I was irritated because I can't do it myself. I wanted a neck brace to hold my head up, and I can't go to the store and get it myself. And she hasn't done it. And then, so I thought, okay, well, I went through the steps, and then I realized that she's afraid I'm going to sue her. And I don't sue people. So suddenly it was, oh, okay, I got it. And it was an understanding that in this case wiped out any need to continue to interact.
Great example. And that also maybe sets that person free because you've come to a certain awareness or understanding. I heard you say a second ago, Ellae, that you went through the steps. What did that mean? So you have a process, it sounds like, that you work with.
Well, these are the steps that we're all working with.
Great.
And this takes us to the reason that we're here. And when we have satisfied the reason why we're here, our timing improves. So the steps are, you look and see what is right in front of you that's asking for your adaptation, not what you see on TV, not what's going on in Washington, not the distractions, what's right in front of you. And you step into it, you stick a toe into it, and then you decide, okay, what do I want to learn from this? What do I want to achieve for myself from having done this? And you start to adapt to the situation flexibly, holding that in front of you. This is what I want to learn from this, and so this is how I'm going to respond. And then you are flexible. The situation teaches you more about who you are, what you can do, what you can't do, to learn what you want to from it. So your learning alters and it improves. And then you get to the end of the situation and you sit there and you take a moment and you say, I have become changed. And that can happen driving to the market. That can happen walking to the computer when you're going to write an email. That the best thing to do with these big lessons we get from the universe is break them down into really small pieces. That happens when you brush your teeth. How have I become changed after having brushed my teeth? And that's how all of this then begins to straighten out and come forward in the most profound and positive ways. And that's the simplicity of it. Now, when you have become changed and you live the change, you let that change become a part of you, then you are working with what the universe requires. This is why we're in this school. This is why we've come here. And so then we start to move in. You've made a step and you'll see that immediately your timing improves. Timing is your grade in this form of not seeking this form of knowledge. It's your grade. If your timing's working, you're working with your adaptation, you're refining it, you're learning, and you're becoming changed. But to really be inspired by it, feel how you've become changed. Now, people who've gone through really dreadful experiences will say, I would have never had wanted the catalyst of that experience to occur. I would never have wanted to go through that experience, but I'm a better person for it. And that's the function of the school.
Those are those big lessons that we're presented with. What might be the pitfalls of us pursuing this journey of big change? When I was thinking about the process that you broke down, I was taking notes feverishly, which was helpful for me. And I was thinking, how do I do that with clarity not having my own agenda to control it, have it be a certain thing, but really just be open to, how am I going to step in, and what do I want to learn, and how do I do that with truly with clarity versus short-circuiting it in a certain way.
Well, there's certain things that the universe provided here to make this a safe and comfortable environment for us. Our species has made it unsafe by going against these things. So there's, and I'll just outline them. There's the Wu Qi, which is a place in time and space that holds the energy that we pull from to create. In order to create anything, we're pulling from the Wu Qi, and we immediately pull it into polarities. And that's how we move. That's how we have, and anything we do, we pull from the Wu Qi. That's how we manifest here. So all spiritual teachers stand in the Wu Qi. What they're doing is they're showing us and telling us how to live without polarities. Then there is a movement of time that comes in at 3:30, between 3 and 3:30, every morning, in every time zone it's the same. It's programmed with specifically for you what you need to accomplish the next day. That's why we have another day. I mean, otherwise we would not have another day. We're such a repetitive species. It would be Groundhog Day all the time. we're given sleep. Sleep is when the body, which is controlled, the concerns of the body are reproduction, inclusion, and survival. The goals of the soul / universal personality is to come here for an adventure, to adapt, to learn how to change. So there's tremendous tension between the life of the body and the life of the universal personality. So what's given to us is meditation. Meditation balances those two areas. Then we're given sleep. Sleep is what allows the universe to balance us. So if there's something that you're trying to create in your life, you have an adaptation you're struggling with, and you want to figure out, you're clear about where you want to be on the other end, or you're clear about an opportunity that you want to have come to you from the future. When you're going to sleep, you give your body all the feeling states that you're going to have when that has occurred. So you basically project your emotional state into the future. And to the best of your ability, you go to sleep with that. Then when you wake up in the morning, you reinstate it, and it will be there when timing brings it. Now, timing, we're a self-centered culture. So to us, timing is when we get the phone call when we need it. Timing occurs in this kind of situation when everything else flows together. And that's why you cannot control timing, because there are other things, other ingredients, other lives, other situations that come in that have to be harmonized for you to be able to gain what you want. So our faith is really in timing. That's really what we're asking for when we pray. We're asking for timing to create such and such. And using these very simple tools that the universe has set up for us makes it so much easier.
What I think of when you shared this piece right now, I think about one of my spiritual teachers, Brew Joy, who spoke of the whole idea of fake it till you make it. And so it's holding that intention of who and what you want to be, and put that hat on and manifest that. And then it sounds like you're taking it to another step where you talk about the timing has to be ready, the conditions have to be ready of the universe to embrace that as well, for that to be expressed.
Well, it's actually a little more than that. We are not a grounded culture. So when we, in the 60s, which I love, came, we received all this wonderful meditation skills from the East, but the East was an indigenous culture. It still is. So nothing that we do in this country spiritually is grounded. We're not using our bodies. We're like all day suckers, here's the body, and then there's this huge head on the top. So specifically talking about what you asked for, if you don't have the feeling state in your body cooperating with the mental process, you're not going to be able to create it. So we're not just, the thing that makes this school so difficult, and it is a tough school. It's tough to get into, it's tough to go through, it's tough to graduate from, but becoming changed is very valuable. It integrates everything else you've learned in the universe and puts you into what Rumi was talking about. It integrates everything into the soul. So the uniqueness is no longer like this. So remind me of what you said. I got all caught up in the beauty of that.
No, that was a beautiful share. I was speaking of, in my simplistic expression, fake it till you make it. You have.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, the four. So what makes this school so incredibly challenging is that we are changing the mental, our physical, our emotional, and our spiritual natures. Those are the four natures that we have here in this universe. So we all know people who go for a run when they should be making money, or people who really should be developing spiritually when they're struggling with greed, which is a physical component. And so then you have to apply appropriately the part of yourself that you are trying to evolve. So if you get your body and the universal personality / soul working together, using these techniques that I talked about that the universe has given us to be ready for the day, then you'll find that it's easier to move forward. And it's not just put on the hat, put on the goal. You have the peacefulness of the body with you. Because if what you're doing scares your body and if your body thinks that it's going to be harder to survive, you are not going to manifest it.
That's beautiful. And I really appreciate how you more fully express that. Would you say, Ellae, that there is a knowing within each of us what that adaptation is, what that change is, what that natural unfolding is that we're wanting to express?
Well, this brings me back to another aspect of this school. The school is really a hallway of mirrors. So everything that we see in this school is a reflection of ourselves, which doesn't mean if you see someone beating a dog that you're a dog beater. It means that that is not a reflection that you want, so you don't relate to it as you. You draw a boundary, you try to stop it, you do something. But everything that we see is a reflection of ourselves. And this school is a reflective school, which means the ultimate reflection is the power, God, the source. And so in this school, you can elevate yourself to be a perfect reflection of God.
Wow, I have nowhere to go from there. That's a beautiful statement. I know our time is coming to a close, and that was a profound statement. Anything you want to share with us just in closing? I really appreciate having this opportunity, this time with you.
Well, I'm just going to give my work a boost. I do one-to-one work with people, and there are a lot of people right now who have intense questions. I am open to having you come. I've made my rates extremely affordable, so anyone can come to me. I just really want the work to help people now. I also have a Mountain Musings. It's an email that I send out. All you need to do is contact me on my email, songcarrier@gmail.com, and I will give you the best support I can. It's a tough.
Ellae, it was beautiful how you got the name. If you would just share the quick story of how that was gifted.
Well, my first teacher, Greg Tiffin, told me that I had the name Phoenix at the time, but I'd gotten in a dream, which is definitely my inner name. I go through difficult situations, then come up better. And he said, but you're missing opportunities. You should have a new name. It's a lot harder to name yourself than it is your kids, that's for sure. So after a long time, I came up with a couple of names. And this one actually was, because I'm psychic and I also have Irish ancestry, that's where my psychic comes from. I thought that maybe I would take the name Faye, F-A-I-G-H. But then I thought, no, Ellae is much more melodic. So I got Ellae. And then in a vision, I saw that in Ireland long ago, there was a place in nature called the Elinwood. And it had this beautiful shaft of light that came into a tree and crystals. And it was where we worshiped. I thought, gosh, I'd love to have that name, but I didn't make it Elinwood because then people would really have trouble with my name. So I made it Ellinwood.
Ah, beautiful. And then also, if you would, Song Carrier.
Song Carrier was given to me by a shaman, a Native American shaman, very, very skilled shaman, who told me that my job in this lifetime is to bring people their song to sing. And that my Native American name is Song Carrier.
With that, thank you, Ellae. Appreciate our time together. Until we're together again, thank you all for joining us, and please be well. Thank you, Ellae.
My pleasure.